Well, this is Baruch Fleischman here. I'm at the Tikkun Elevator Kollel, and look what we have here, the ultimate connection with God. This is Rabbi Yosef Chaim Mimran, YC Mimran. Tremendous English-speaking rabbi who has written this really phenomenal book on Jewish meditation. But this book, you don't need too much more. So here's what he says right here. We're on part 7. It says, we're on part 6. This is entitled a technique taught by the Baal Shem Tov. Now, Orthodox Jews, everybody knows who the Baal Shem Tov is, but for those of you who don't know who the Baal Shem Tov is, for one thing, he is the founder, he is the seed, the root of Hasidic Judaism. He came along at a time in the middle of the 18th century, the 1700s. After a generation after tremendous massacre that took place in Central Europe of Jews by the Khmelnytsky, Bogdan Khmelnytsky, who today is been to be one of the great heroes of the country called Ukraine. But at that time, he was a tremendous murderer of Jews, heaps and piles of Jews who were killed by the sword. So that's Khmelnytsky. The solution to Khmelnytsky was a tremendous spiritual jump by the Baal Shem Tov HaKodesh. It's called the Holy Baal Shem Tov. So this take from the Baal Shem Tov, it's in Parshas Noach, Sefer Amud at Tefillah, and let's see what he's about to say. So we have this quote from a student of the Ramchal. Now here's another person, existed or lived and wrote tremendous Kabbalists, and his writings are available to everybody today. They're absolutely fantastic. So he says that the Baal Shem Tov, the Ramchal, lived in Italy. He was born in Italy, and he was very influential in the Sephardic world. And especially we had at the same time there was Khmelnytsky, which really affected and massacred Eastern European Jewry down to who knows what. Very little left. There was also a terrible debacle that took place principally in the Sephardic world, which is the false messiah called Shabsai Tzvi. So after the Shabsai Tzvi, it was actually the two of them were contemporary, that is Khmelnytsky and Shabsai Tzvi were at the same time. So this, though, Shabsai Tzvi really destroyed a tremendous amount of the faith of the Jewish people who thought that he was the Messiah. Came along after him, the Ramchal. And many people persecuted the Ramchal, many rabbis did, because they thought he was taking up the same things that the Shabsai Tzvi did. But of course, it's not true. And so here we are. This is all the going back and forth of a long history of the Jewish people from light to darkness, like that. Now we come to the concept of prayer. And he writes like this: just as Moses, our teacher, went up and was elevated, similarly, all of Israel is able to rise up and attach to the above. That means to cling to God, to become one with God. So now the Baal Shem Tov, in the Parshas Noach, he has a sefer called Sefer Amud Tefillah, which means the column of Tefillah, or standing for prayer. The power of Hebrew letters. That's what Rabbi Mimran wants to teach us. In prayer, he writes, one must place all their power in the words. One must go from letter to letter. He doesn't say word to word. He says letter to letter in each world until one forgets the physical world. Now, this is very definitely possible. One has to reserve the time for it. Contemplate how the letters are binding together and interacting with one another. This causes great pleasure on the physical plane. If you can do this, and he's not saying like in 1 second, he's saying that you could devote yourself some time to this and just concentrate on the letters. And all the more so in the spiritual plane. So if you get tremendous pleasure in this world, it connects itself, and that's the spiritual plane. From a Kabbalistic point of view, prayer is the same thing as meditation. So therefore, Jews meditate 3 times a day in a formal situation where we gather together 10 people and we have a formal prayer. He says, therefore, to contemplate the words of prayer, letter by letter, While it takes effort and it takes time, this enables the one who prays to connect to a very powerful spiritual energy, which is latent with the Hebrew letters. So here we say that the Hebrew letters themselves individually are creation. And that creation allows itself to become an interface between what is beyond pure physical life, which always ends in death. It connects itself to the eternal, but it takes effort. If this can be done, it releases a tremendous amount of spiritual energy. Contact with this energy tends to be emotionally charging. Where you think, Rabbi Mimran writes, is where you are. Therefore, the projection of our imaginations, when properly focused with pure intent and properly manifest through correct speech, creates this energy vortex. Everything mixes together. It begins to form in a circular kind of way of bringing itself up. This vortex, which I used the word before, an interface, that unites the physical with the spiritual dimensions. Therefore, the daily prayer is far more than mere words. It is the pillar upon which rest the physical and spiritual universes. Wisely did our sages speak when they said that prayer stands in the loftiest place in the universe. How is that? Because it can transport us. In the Ethics of the Fathers, we are told that the world stands on three things. Torah, which is observance of the law, but it's much, much more than that. Because once again, it is full of Hebrew letters, and all of those letters form up of the entire Torah, form up one giant name of God. Then he says those three things, so that's Torah. Avoda, which is worship, which is, we say, worship is meditation. And Gemilah Chasadim, acts of loving kindness, charity, different kinds of ways to help build up the world. These three great spiritual forces are the foundations of the world, the pillars that uphold the whole of existence. Now he says avoda, which is worship, and I'm translating the word into also, as he's saying, which is meditation, is the second pillar. For the rabbis, avoda meant prayer. They called prayer avoda shebelev, the worship of the heart, where you're putting your heart, your energy, and all those things that you want into your prayer. Prayer takes the place of the worship in the temple. The words of prayer build a bridge between God and man, and that's what I said. It is an interface. It depends on how you use it. One should contemplate in prayer that one is arousing the same letters that were used in creating the heavens and the earth and all the created things above and below. Now, this is a very strong statement that the Torah is saying that the Hebrew letters are actually the building blocks of our physical reality. Different letters, things are called by different names. In Hebrew, those names are very powerful because they contain the letters, which are, once again, the building blocks of our reality. So he says like this, thus when we recite our prayers and praising, we are we are reciting our prayers and we are praising the Almighty. We are harmonizing with all the worlds and all that was created because the prayers themselves are a part of the creation process. You are arousing the letters. The letters are the life force of all that is created. Thus, with everything that you say, with this intent, you elevate all that was created in the heavens, because here, we're down on the physical earth, our feet are on the ground. And what we're looking for, and we understand the ground is the place we come from, as the Torah says, is the place where we're going. We want to be able to rise beyond that, to the true joy of the universe. This you can do through prayer. Thus, with everything that you say, with this intent, you elevate all that was created, not only in the heavens, but also upon the earth. So Rabbi Mimran writes, we got the blurb at the end that I really like so much. Let's look at it a little more closely. He says, where you think is where you are. Therefore, the projection of our imaginations, when properly focused, with pure intent, and properly manifest through correct speech, creates the energy vortex. This means the pool of energies that come together, that unites the physical with the spiritual dimensions. This has been Rabbi Yosef Chaim Mimran. This is Baruch Fleischman here at the Tikkun Elevator Kollel.